GPU prices have fallen. Well, slightly. They've fallen slightly. They're nowhere near MSRP. They're still atrocious, but arguably less atrocious than they were even just a couple months ago. So I wanted to take this as an opportunity to build out a parts list, to see what kind of PC we could build right now as the GPU prices have fallen for under $1,000 here at the tail end of February in 2022. I actually did a video in December, 2 to 3 months ago, where I took a look at some Craigslist ads for PCs, and I looked at the graphics cards that were in those PCs, and I looked up the street prices for them on eBay. And in hindsight, I'm really glad I did that video because now I have some GPU prices that I can now compare to current street prices. And with the 7 GPUs that I looked at, the street prices have fallen by an average of 15%, which is not incredible, but it's a huge step in the right direction. Obviously, time will tell if that trend continues in the coming months and we start to see the prices continue falling, or if they're gonna stay where they're at, or God forbid, go back up. But again, I'm just using this as an excuse to make a parts list, which I haven't done on this channel in probably a year and a half. It feels like maybe almost 2 years since I've actually put together a parts list for you guys, just to see what the best gaming PC we can build right now is. We'll also take a look at, just in general, if you are gonna build a PC this year, if you should go with AMD or Intel. So we'll take a closer look at what offerings both of those manufacturers have on the table, and also take into consideration what product releases they have planned later this year and how that factors into maybe our choices for what we're going to build today.
Before we continue, special thanks to Private Internet Access for sponsoring this video. PIA is the world's most transparent VPN provider with over 30 million downloads that never stores or records any of your data. By changing your IP address and rerouting your internet traffic through an encrypted tunnel, all of your online activity is completely hidden from your ISP, network administrator, and government sensors. PIA also works with all major streaming services like Netflix, Hulu, Disney+, and Amazon Prime, so you can access all your favorite content anywhere in the world. It even supports peer-to-peer file sharing and torrenting. One of my favorite things about this VPN is that it's 100% open source and the code is completely public, so anyone can look under the hood at any time to see that it's one of the most secure and private services out there. You can use PIA on all your devices with support for a multitude of platforms including Windows, Linux, Android, macOS, iOS, and many more. A single PIA subscription can be used to protect up to 10 devices simultaneously. They also have a highly skilled customer support team of experts available 24/7. Click the link in the description below to get PIA for less than $2 a month with 4 extra months free. That's 83% off the normal rate at just $1.98 per month. Start browsing safely and securely today with Private Internet Access.
With that said, I've got PC Part Picker here to help us assemble a list, and we're gonna start off, as always, with the CPU. Now, the question is AMD or Intel right out of the gate? Well, I think for a budget of $1,000, if we're factoring in a discrete graphics card in here, we have to look at either the Ryzen 5 or an Intel Core i5 processor. Intel Core i7s or Ryzen 7s are just a little bit too rich for this budget, and I think we can probably do a little bit better than a Core i3 or a Ryzen 3 chip. In that case, if we're going current gen, we're either looking at a Ryzen 5 5600X, which is a 6-core, 12-thread processor, going for $225 right now, or we can look at a, 12600K is a really nice chip, but it's definitely a bit pricier than the 5600X. There's other Core i5 Alder Lake CPUs that are current gen, like the 12400F. This is also 6 cores, also 12 threads, and it's going for quite a bit cheaper than the 5600X right now. Now, I did look up a video, a great video by BITWIT.TECH. He did a direct comparison between the 5600X and the 12400F, and basically found that the 5600X was only about 9% faster on average when we're talking about gaming applications. 9% isn't anything to write home about, but if you look at the price difference, we're going from 185 to 225. That's what, 20 to 25% more expensive for a 9% bump in frame rates. It doesn't seem super worth it on that alone. So right now, it seems like the 12400F is the better value. Another thing to consider here is that the 12400F is on a much newer platform. The Alder Lake chips are on LGA 1700, and that's most likely going to be the same socket that Intel uses for their next generation Raptor Lake CPUs when those come out later this year. And so you would technically be able to upgrade to one of those newer processors with whatever motherboard we're going to choose today. So there's sort of an upgrade path if we go with the Intel chip versus the 5600X. Yeah, you could upgrade to a higher end 5000 series Ryzen chip, but that's pretty much where you're gonna hit a ceiling. You're not gonna be able to upgrade to a Ryzen 7000 series CPU when those are available later this year. So all things considered, it looks like the 12400F is the winner here, at least in my opinion, for 185 bucks. This also ships with a stock cooler, which I haven't tested myself, but from the reviews I've read and videos I've seen, it seems to do a pretty decent job of keeping chips cool, particularly if you're not overclocking them. This is not even an unlocked SKU. It's an F SKU, which means it doesn't have integrated graphics, but neither does the 5600X, so we're not really missing much there. But the included cooler should be more than adequate for this particular CPU. I have no worries about that. So we can skip that one. We have a motherboard. Now, motherboard, we can go a couple different ways here. There's really no point in going Z690. That's the flagship chipset, if you will, for Alder Lake. It's just going to support overclocking that we can't take advantage of anyway, since we have a lock SKU. You're going to get more PCIe lanes and more high bandwidth USB ports, but there are other chipsets beneath Z690 that have plenty of those, in my opinion, on both fronts. So our options then are H670, B660, or B610. I'm going to rule out B610 because that's more of a bare chipset option that just, I think, cuts too many features in my opinion. There's no memory overclocking. It's only PCIe Gen 3, and it cuts too many like USB port types and PCIe lanes and things like that. So really, we can choose between H670 or B660. And I'm just going to take a look on Newegg here. They have a pretty good search for components, whereas their business practices as of late are highly questionable. But I'm going to look up H670 motherboard. See what pops up here. So we have an H670 ASRock here, Riptide. Riptide, isn't that what Paul's PC is called? Riptide? Copying Paul now. Let me sort by lowest price just to see what our cheapest option is here. That was it. So, okay, well, $150. I was hoping a little bit less for H670. That seems a little steep. Let me take a look at B660. Sort by lowest. Okay, this is a bit more reasonable. There's a B660M HDV from ASRock for $95. We have an ASRock B660M Pro for $110. 120 for the Gigabyte DS3H. Let's take a look at, okay, this one has 2 DIMM slots, so ew. What about this ASRock here? I'm looking at all this stuff for the first time, so we can sort of explore this together. 4 DIMM slots is good. I see 2 M.2 slots, also good. 8-pin EPS connector. Sometimes on really budget boards, you only get a 4-pin, and that's not great, especially if you want to upgrade to a more power-hungry CPU down the line. Okay, this doesn't look too bad. Ooh, kind of basic on the back here. Let me take a look at one step up. If we go to the, okay, DS3H from Gigabyte. Also 4 DIMM slots, 8-pin, 2 M.2 slots. Okay, this looks a bit more substantial. It's got the USB Type-C port. I'm trying to figure out why this one's $10 more, if it's worth the $10 extra. But the ASRock has a 1 gigabit LAN port, whereas you get 2.5 gigabits on the Gigabyte board. Oh, both of these motherboards are micro ATX as well. I guess that's something to keep in mind. You know what, I'm leaning towards the Gigabyte board. I like the fact that it's got a better LAN port on it, and I've just been more partial to the UEFI that Gigabyte has versus the ASRock BIOS, which can be a little spotty. So let's just go with that. Let's punch it in, DS3H. So for memory, these days I typically recommend people go with 32 gigs. 16 gigs is barely cutting it nowadays if you're into high-end gaming, and especially if you're gonna be multitasking or streaming in particular, it'll eat up more than 16 gigs. That's just what I've seen, that's what I've experienced on a regular basis now. So I'm gonna try going for 16 gigs. If we have to cut it, we will. Let's say we don't meet our budget. If we go over budget, then we'll have to do 16 gigs. I'm gonna do 3200 speed. Because memory's, you know, one of those things, it's super easy to upgrade down the line. It's not a huge deal if we can only get 16 gigs, but I'm gonna shoot for the moon right now. Oops, I meant to do that. 32 gigs. And okay, the cheapest kit here is the Team T Create Classic. Okay, it starts getting much more expensive pretty quickly. So Acer Predator, Acer makes memory. What the hell? What the hell's this? How come I've never seen this before? Has anyone ever used Acer memory before? Predator Talos. I'm just gonna go with the Team T Create Classic. Actually, let me see. Did it get any reviews? Got 4.5 eggs, 4.7 out of 5 eggs. 500 reviews on Amazon, 4.6 out of 5. Okay. For storage, I say we just go for a single drive. Obviously, we're gonna go with an SSD. 1 terabyte. Western Digital WD Green SN350. That's not NVMe, but it is M.2. Is it NVMe? This isn't NVMe, is it? This is an NVMe drive. Oh shit. Okay. Well, yeah, of course it is. What am I thinking? The SN series. Okay, for 75 bucks. Well, hold on. There's a Crucial BX500, which is a 2.5-inch drive. It's 1 terabyte. You get 40 more gigs. Is it worth it? 40 more gigs? No. I say we go with the NVMe drive instead. 40 gigs isn't a whole lot. That's like a quarter of a Warzone install. So let's just do that. We can take advantage of the Gen 4 lanes on our motherboard. We also need a video card. Okay, so this is a little tricky here. I was looking at video card prices, like I said. Some GPU models have dropped more significantly than others. Some of them are kind of more or less the same, like where they're at. I feel like some of the like the turbo cards, there was like an RTX 3080 Turbo from Gigabyte that only dropped maybe 50 bucks since a couple months ago. But then there's also the RX 6600 XT, and that dropped notably. Street prices went from like 700 bucks to 500. I've even seen it as low as $450. So let me take a look at what it's going for on Newegg, if there's even any available right now, because that's the other thing. I want to make sure that these products that we're putting in here are items that you can buy right now, not from just like Newegg Shuffle or whatever. Okay, we have an ASRock Challenger D. Loves the D. 6600 XT for $500. That's the cheapest one by far. The other GPU I wanted to look at was the RTX 3050, which I did a review on recently. It's a pretty decent card, you know? It's the lowest end RTX supported card that you can buy right now, so you get access to RTX effects, DLSS 2.0 in games that support it, NV encoder, which I love. Ooh, look at this. Wait, what? 380? This isn't in stock, is it? Out of stock, okay. I was like, okay, there's a Gigabyte RTX 3050 Eagle OC for $470, but this is the one I had my eye on. The Asus Dual 3050 for $440, and it's in stock. You can get it on March 2nd. I can get it in 2 days. I might just buy this for myself. No. Stay focused, Kyle. Okay, there's a couple ways you can go here, right? If you went with the 6600 XT, it is, by and large, a faster card than the RTX 3050. In my testing, it was about 25% faster. The flip side here that I just mentioned is that the RTX 3050 has RTX effects, DLSS, and the encoder. Those are all fantastic features. Yes, there's FSR on the AMD side, but the image quality pales in comparison to DLSS. From what I've seen, from what literally everyone's seen, and there's far fewer supported games. And that's just, you know, by nature, because DLSS has had a huge head start, but it is what it is. So you're really faced with a fork in the road here that I think is gonna come down to personal preference. Do you go with the faster card, the faster all-around card with higher frame rates, which would be the 6600 XT, or do you go with the slower card that has more useful features, one of which, DLSS, being able to boost your frame rates without really any perceptible loss in image quality? I think I wouldn't blame someone for choosing either or. I really wouldn't, especially if you have $1,000 to spare. The fact that you can just get these cards for $500 or less right now is awesome. I wouldn't say it's awesome. It's better than awful, which is what it's been for far too long. So just for the sake of argument, I'm just gonna go with the RTX 3050. Again, swap it out for a 6600 XT. I don't care. I think they're both good options for a build with this budget. Wait, hold on, this isn't right. How are we already at $918? Is that right? Oh shit. We still need a case and power supply. I don't think we're gonna make it. We might have to cut the memory down to 16 gigs. All right, let's just go for it. Let's do power supply first. So if we're gonna go with an RTX 3050, 500 would be bare minimum, but I don't know. Anytime I create a parts list, I think about if I was creating it for a friend. And what I would tell a friend in this case is try to get more wattage than you really need, because eventually you're gonna wanna upgrade your graphics card or your CPU down the line. It's gonna draw more power, and you really don't wanna have to swap out your PSU and buy a whole other PSU to do that. So for overshooting for good measure, I would say 650 watts sounds pretty solid. I don't care if it's modular or not, given the budget we're working with. Let's just sort by lowest. Aries game, that sounds sketchy, just because I've never heard of it. Deep cool PSUs can be decent. This is a 700 watt unit for $43. Interesting, I've never tested this. Ooh, it looks a little, I always judge a book by its cover. I always judge a power supply by its sticker. Is that wrong of me? We have a 700 watt BR, EVGA BR for $49. And it's not modular, it's fine. The case we pick is probably gonna have a PSU shredder anyway. Thermal take, that's a 650 watt for 52, so you're paying more for less wattage than that EVGA unit. This one's 650. No, I'm just gonna go with the BR. Wait, I'm gonna check the, with a cheap power supply, even if it's from a reputable brand like EVGA, I always check the ratings, the reviews. Looks like it's got really good feedback. 4.7 average out of 5, 18 ratings, 391 ratings, 4.6 out of 5. I'm cool with that. And that leaves us, we have $32 left for a case. I don't think we're gonna make it. Micro ATX, boom, boom, boom. Wow, they even have a filter for power supply shroud now. I didn't notice that, that's funny. All right, even if we got the cheapest case available, which is a DIY PC MA08, we would still be over budget. I don't want that case anyway though. Thermaltake Versa H18. I've used this case before, tempered glass side panel, power supply shroud, but I like it because it's cheap, it's a good value, and it has a front mesh panel. So really good airflow, but it is back ordered at the moment. Estimated date, ETA date is tomorrow. So I guess maybe they'll have more in stock tomorrow. This is actually not a bad option. It comes with one fan at the rear, has another fan mount at the top. Let me take a look at the inside. The interior is sort of cheap looking, kind of cheap, metal, steel or whatever, as you might expect, but it does the job. Is there anything better than that though? How much is that one? That's $55. Silverstone, ooh, no. I've used the Focus G Mini a lot from Fractal Design, but the acrylic side panel is just so dated. It gets scratched up way too easily. It looks great out of the box, and then a month later, it's just trash. Cooler Master, this one looks like a hot box. What is this? Master Box Q300L Tough Gaming. I mean, this one would work, although there's no PSU shroud. I don't really like the interior. We also have Cougar Gemini. Ew, God. I guess I'm factoring in aesthetics a little bit when it comes to the case. Inwin 301 for $69. The price is right. Yeah, this gets most of its intake from the bottom. You can see that the power supply's on top, and you've got some fan mounts at the bottom here. I think you can do 3 120s if I'm not mistaken. Oh, never mind, you can only put 2 fans at the bottom. I was thinking of the ATX model, but 2 120s is still not too bad, especially since the RTX 3050 isn't gonna be getting that hot anyway. Oh, you can also do a 240mm rad at the front, although I don't really see, oh, okay, I guess you get some intake from that side panel. I guess that's also ventilation. Otherwise, the front is pretty closed off. I wouldn't rely on the front though for the majority of your intake. Definitely go with the bottom. Yeah, you know what? I'm feeling this one. Yeah, let's do it. How much over are we? We're at $1,038. So if we cut our memory in half, going to 16 gigs, I think that would get us under 1,000. And again, it's just so easy to drop in an identical kit down the line. Just save up 50 bucks, mow some lawns, or you can just download more RAM. That works too. So a 16 gig kit of the T-Crate Classic is $55.99. Or we can go silicon power with $6 saved. I think the team kit should still bring us in, oh wait, yes, $995. That's just $5 short of exceeding our budget. And all in all, I think this is a pretty formidable gaming PC. The RTX 3050 is very capable. You can easily run, high settings at 1080p and get well over 60 FPS. That's what I found in my testing. That's what a lot of other reviews have shown. I think this will pair really nicely with the 12400F. You could definitely stream with this PC as well, especially because you also have NV encoder at your disposal off of the RTX card in order to handle all of the live encoding. You guys already know the one thing I would change here is the memory. I would go for 32 gigs if you can spare it. If you have an extra 50 bucks, go for 32 gigs, but 16 gigs will get you by in the meantime. But it looks like this is much better. This is much better than what we would have been able to put together just a couple months ago. I think the RTX 3050 was going for like $550, $600 even when it first came out. MSRP is $249 on this card, so $439 for it is still very steep, but much less so than it was back in December and January. Take this for what you will. You guys let me know if this is something worth building right now. Is this the time to strike? Is this the time to build a PC and take advantage of these falling GPU prices? Or should you hold out? Should you wait a little bit longer until to see if they drop even further? In my opinion, if you can hold out a little bit longer to see where things go, I suggest you do that. Who knows, they could drop another 15% in another month or two, and you'd be kind of kicking yourself if you actually bought this right now. But this is still a relevant parts list, I think, to look at. If those GPU prices continue falling, then that just means that this figure would go down even more as the RTX 3050 and other GPU prices continue to fall. Thank you guys for watching this video. That's all for this one. Toss a like on it if you enjoyed it. Get subscribed for more tech content on the way, and I'll be seeing you guys in the next video.